The camera flash goes off just as Preston Cole drops the loaf into the trash can. Cold open. Small town bakery. Morning rush. Preston Cole hotel developer. Gold watch. Cashmere coat stands in the middle of Marsh's hearth bakery, holding Elena Marsh's signature sourdough like it's a dead rat. "This?" he says, loud enough for the whole line of customers to hear. "This is what I'm supposed to put my name on?" Peasant bread. He drops it. Trash can lid swings shut with a hollow bang that seems to hang in the air. Elena doesn't flinch. She wipes flour off her hands with her apron, slow, deliberate. She doesn't yell. She doesn't cry. She just looks at him and smiles. That smile is going to cost Preston Cole $240 million. He just doesn't know it yet. If you've ever been humiliated by someone who thought your work meant nothing, stick around, because Elena's silence is about to become the loudest thing that ever happened to Cole Grand Hotels. Hit subscribe, drop a comment with the word silent if you already know quiet people are the ones you don't want to underestimate. And let's rewind to how we got here. 3 days earlier, Millbrook, Vermont was just another sleepy town with one stoplight and a bakery that had been open since 1962. Marsh's hearth belonged to Elena's late husband's family, passed down through 3 generations, through 2 recessions, through a fire in '98 that Elena's mother-in-law rebuilt with her bare hands. Elena kept the ovens running at 4 a.m. every single day since her husband passed 2 years ago, raising their 9-year-old son Caleb alone, stretching every dollar the bakery brought in. Then, Cole Grand Hotels announced Millbrook as the site of their newest luxury flagship, a glass and steel monument going up 2 blocks from Elena's shop. Preston Cole didn't just want the land. He wanted the story. His PR team cooked up a plan. Feature a charming local bakery in the hotel's opening campaign, a folksy touch to soften his cold corporate image. Elena, needing every bit of goodwill and exposure she could get, said yes. What she didn't know was that Cole's team had already quietly filed paperwork registering Marsh's original sourdough as a trademark under Cole Grand Hotel's breakfast program, a recipe that had been in her husband's family since 1962, served in 12 states, without a cent, without a phone call, without her name anywhere on it. She found the filing by accident, forwarded by a cousin who worked in food licensing. She said nothing. She kept baking. She kept smiling at Cole's cameras. She waited. The morning of the charming local bakery shoot, Cole arrived 40 minutes late, irritated, already complaining about the smell of yeast on his coat. He picked up Elena's sourdough, took one theatrical bite for the cameras, and made a face like he'd swallowed a bug. "This needs work," he said. Then, louder, for effect, "Actually scrap it. This isn't hotel quality. This is peasant bread." And he threw it in the trash, right there, in front of the cameras his own team had brought. Elena's silence wasn't defeat. It was patience finally running out of reasons to wait. She walked to the back of the shop, pulled a manila folder from behind the register, one she'd kept ready for 11 days, and handed it not to Cole, but to the reporter standing closest to the counter. "Before you print anything," she said quietly, "you might want to read what's inside first." Cole laughed. "What is that? A coupon?" Elena didn't answer. She just untied her apron, hung it on its hook, and walked out the front door of her own bakery, leaving Preston Cole standing next to an open trash can, a stunned reporter holding a folder that was about to end his product launch, his stock price, and possibly his career. What was in that folder? And why did Elena wait 11 days to use it? The folder sat on the reporter's clipboard for exactly 6 seconds before she opened it. Inside, a certified copy of the original 1962 recipe card, notarized family ownership records, and a letter from a food IP attorney dated 11 days earlier, confirming that Cole Grand Hotels' trademark filing on Marsh's original sourdough constituted a knowing infringement on a documented, decades-old family trade name. Attached to the letter was something Cole's legal team had missed entirely, a licensing clause buried in the original town development agreement, the one Cole signed to break ground in Millbrook. It stated that any local business whose recognizable product or name was used in Cole Grand's marketing was owed a formal partnership agreement Not a filmed cameo. A partnership. With equity. Elena hadn't found a lawyer by luck. Her late husband's uncle had been a contracts attorney in Boston for 30 years before retiring to Millbrook. When she showed him the trademark filing 11 days ago, he didn't just get angry. He got precise. Back inside the bakery, Preston Cole was still laughing when his phone started buzzing. Then, buzzing again, then ringing outright. His head of PR, white as flour, telling him the reporter had already called the paper's legal desk to verify the documents before the story even ran. "It's nothing," Cole said, waving it off. "Small-town paperwork. Nobody reads local news." He was wrong twice in one sentence. The story didn't stay local. A regional business outlet picked it up by lunchtime luxury hotel chain Trademark's family recipe, humiliates owner on camera, and by evening it had crossed into national business coverage. Cole Grand Hotels was 2 weeks from a NASDAQ secondary offering. Investors do not like footage of a CEO calling a grieving widow's bread peasant food while trying to steal her name. By the next morning, 3 institutional investors had quietly paused their commitments pending reputational review. Cole's board called an emergency session. His own general counsel confirmed, in writing, that the licensing clause was real, that it was binding, and that the trademark filing was, in the mildest legal language available, an unforced and substantial liability. Cole showed up at the bakery himself the next day. No cameras this time, no PR team. Just him, standing at the same counter, looking considerably smaller than he had 48 hours earlier. "I'll pull the filing," he said, "today, and I'll pay for damages, whatever you want to call it." Elena set down the dough she was kneading. "I don't want damages, Mr. Cole. My husband's family built this recipe with their hands for 60 years so people in this town could afford breakfast. You wanted to put your name on that without asking. Now you're going to put mine on it instead. Marsh's original, full ownership, full royalty, in every one of your hotels that serves it. Or your investors can keep reading the news." He didn't laugh this time. He signed. 6 weeks later, Cole Grand Hotel's flagship opened with a breakfast program built entirely around Marsh's Hearth Bakery, Elena's name printed on the menu in full, a royalty check landing in her account every quarter that dwarfed anything the bakery had earned on its own. She hired 2 more bakers. She put Caleb through the next 4 years of school without touching a loan. Preston Cole kept his job barely, but every article about Cole Grand Hotels for the next year mentioned the bakery story first. The $240 million number wasn't damages. It was the value Cole Grand stock lost in the week the story broke. Before it recovered on the back of the settlement, a number every board member remembered the next time someone suggested cutting corners with a local partner. Elena still opens the ovens at 4 a.m. Some mornings, tourists come in just to see the bakery that beat a billionaire without raising her voice. So here's the question for you. If someone tried to steal your family's name to sell it back to you, would you take the money quietly, or make them put your name on it first? Tell me below.